Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Coming up here in the not too distant future, we are going to see the next major Warzone integration update, the final Warzone integration update of this era of the game. Obviously, with Modern Warfare 4, we have all the rumors, all the inside information detailing that's going to be the next era of Warzone. New engine, hard reset on everything on your account, basically starting from complete scratch there. But for Black Ops 7 and the Warzone integration that's coming here with Season 1, there is a lot to be discussed. And today I want to go through my general thoughts, my general opinions on what's to come, what we know of for this Warzone update. Because this year, more than really any of the previous years, surprisingly enough, I am a little bit hesitant about what this Warzone update could be and what this integration could be, especially at first. I think over time, there's certainly potential, and there is still a lot of potential at the start as well if they nail things, but they're in a really tough position this year for a lot of reasons, mostly self-inflicted here. But as far as Black Ops 7 and the Warzone integration update goes, yes, this is coming at the launch of Season 1. This should be happening here in early December, except for this as an integration update, it doesn't really feel like that much is necessarily going to be changing, at least based off of what we know so far. We're not seeing a full reset or a full wipe or anything, so that means all of your weapons and operators and camos and blueprints and skins from Modern Warfare 2 2022, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 6 are all still going to be available to use in the game whenever you want. We're also seeing all of the new stuff from Black Ops 7 added into Warzone as well. So for the first time ever in Warzone's history, we're going to have 4 games worth of content in the game. We've discussed bloat issues in Warzone previously, and that's been one of my biggest issues with the game over time, is how bloated the game feels, how overwhelming the game could feel for players when there's 250 weapons and 9,000 attachments, and half of them are largely useless. It just becomes a little bit too much for a player when it's like, okay, hey, this gun seems really cool, but I'm 50 levels away, so I'm going to use this gun from the last game that I have max level. But wait, they're in old games guns, so they don't do anything. The damage sucks, the recoil sucks, the movement sucks. The new game's guns are all the meta, so now I'm at a disadvantage. So I have to spend the time leveling 50 levels and whatnot, right? Like, this has been a reoccurring issue every single Warzone integration update for a long time. Now, there's a chance they could finally solve this and they could have an appropriate balance across the board. If they do so, though, they're going to be doing it in the year that's most difficult to do it, because there's so much content. There's more stuff available than any other integration or any other era of Warzone. And so there's going to be the loudest garbage truck ever's outside. There's going to be some serious bloat concerns. And a lot of the time previously, what's happened with bloat here in Warzone is issues on issues on issues. They make an update and it changes 14 different Black Ops 7 guns, and they adjust some bugs that are in Black Ops 7. And suddenly a marksman rifle from the game 2 years ago now has an instant one-shot headshot knock, or something ridiculous like that happens, right? We've seen it time and time and time again. And I don't think that they have built up a track record to necessarily say, okay, that won't happen this year, especially when there's more potential for problems to arise, since we have more content and more old stuff in the game than ever before. So right away, they're put into a pretty tricky situation. Now let's focus on what's actually new, what's going to be coming. Yes, we've got the 30 weapons from Black Ops 7 and whatever new guns come in Season 1. We've got the operators. Beyond that, I don't know how much this version of Warzone is going to really feel like it's a Black Ops 7 Warzone, because we're going to see a new resurgence map, Haven's Hollow. It's comprised of Liberty Falls and the surrounding area, and I won't lie, I think the map looks really cool. I have not played it myself. I obviously watched everybody play it at COD Next. I've asked around a lot people's opinions on the map, and it seemed like for the most part people enjoyed the experience. They thought it was much better than Area 99, so we are off to a good, start there, as opposed to last year where Area 99 was not good. However, it is just a resurgence map, and while there is a massive audience for resurgence because COD's basically only focused on it for the last 3 years, it's just one resurgence map. We are still going to have Rebirth back really quickly after the integration update happens, so we'll be balancing playlists between Rebirth and Haven's Hollow. Personally, I'm really tired of Rebirth after playing it since Blackout basically, but there's obviously an audience for it and they know that. But Haven's Hollow basically has to be good, because if it's not, this version of Warzone, I think, is in serious trouble, because beyond Haven's Hollow as a new resurgence map, all we're getting basically as far as the in-game experience goes is 2 Verdansk POI updates, where they're going to add in some new spots. Other than that, it's the same old Verdansk. And that's just not a lot to try and keep a battle royale audience focused on the game, especially when there's another very good battle royale that just dropped in RedSec that I'll be splitting my time with a ton. So they're kind of putting themselves in between a rock and a hard place. Minimal content updates for Warzone, and you also have the biggest contender you've had in years just dropping their game not too long ago. So it's concerning to say the least. Just the start of this entire integration update is already going to be in a very tricky place, and it's going to be hard to navigate, I think, for Call of Duty. Now, the optimist in me is still hopeful that they're going to nail this. They've had 3 years now to fully have preparation for this. This was the whole point of Warzone 2, so that they could be prepared and the game could handle situations like this. So hopefully things go smooth. That's what I'd love to see as the outcome, and I hope it does really well. Managing my expectations at the same time, it's gonna be difficult, I think, to really reach that full potential. But that's just the start. Like I said, I think long term, this version of Warzone and this integration of Warzone has a lot of potential, because we know in the spring, presumably season 2, so like maybe late February, early March, sometime around there. I say early spring, but it's early 2026. Then we're going to see some really cool updates. We're going to see the blackout experience happen, which I am very excited to see how exactly they go through and they go about that. We're going to have Avalon as a playable map alongside that as well. A lot of cool LTMs and various things happening there. A refresh on Rebirth, different Verdansk updates. Like, it seems like the bulk of the really good parts about this Warzone integration are actually happening like 4 months after the integration happens, which again, I think is a miss on their part, and probably the cause of them reacting late and saying, oh, Warzone's in a bad spot, RedSec's coming out, we got to do something. And this is what they came up with, but they can't get it out in time for launch, because I don't know why you wouldn't want this all at launch. That, I think, would be the best possible situation, and that is not what's happening, obviously. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Is the game going to sustain players long enough to get to early 2026 where the good updates are inbound? Really curious to see how that evolves, and it's going to depend on this launch, which is in a tricky spot. Next up here, the aim assist changes that we've seen in Black Ops 7 have been very controversial so far, especially with the casual players not being able to aim on targets as easy. That's going to be even more prevalent in Warzone, and I'm really curious to see how that impacts gameplay and player sentiment. Are we going to see a situation where the game now plays better because you're not being lasered by everyone and anyone at 200 meters with a rifle? Or is it going to be a situation of the good players learn the aiming skill gap and the casuals don't aim as well, and so they just don't have an interest in playing the game anymore? They're again setting themselves up in a rather tricky situation. And then lastly, when it comes to this, a thing that you have to keep an eye on is that, again, this is a Warzone integration update that is free to play, and that introduces and that opens the door much more wide for cheaters. Now, I've already run into a few here in Black Ops 7. It doesn't feel like it's been as crazy as in years past, which is hopefully a good thing, and hopefully that's a trend that continues. But in Warzone, it's just amplified to the extreme because it's free to play. And we know how Ricochet's performed the last, forever. So the bar is so low for them to do well at the anti-cheat, but they've repeatedly been unable to eclipse that. So that's another thing, that if that's a problem with this integration, it's going to be a compounding issue of concerning lack of content at the start of this integration, way too much bloat, potential cheating problems, and then whatever potential bugs and glitches may or may not surface because of how much is packed into this game. So this is a really hard Warzone integration for them to nail, I feel like. And like I said at the start, it's largely because of their own doing and their own planning with how they're going about this year to year. Now, I'm still very excited for it. I can't wait to play a fresh Warzone here, because the current one that we've been playing in Black Ops 6 was very monotonous and got very stale very fast. So I'm excited to use these new Black Ops 7 guns in Warzone, level them up, go for the prestige attachments and the camos and stuff. I'm excited for the Warzone camo grind as well. I think Haven's Hollow is a really cool resurgence map, so I'm pretty stoked for that. But I'm also very worried at the same time and pretty concerned about what could be happening to Warzone in its final integration of this era. Hopefully it's not just a waiting period for MW4 Warzone. But that being said, it's going to wrap things up. Obviously, in the coming days and weeks here, we are going to get even more information on this Warzone update, and we'll be covering all of it right as it happens. So stay tuned for that, alongside everything else going on in COD, by hitting that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, a like rating on your way out would be seriously appreciated. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.